The reality is, if you start to believe that there's a light in everybody, then let's seek it out. Because if we actually come in saying we have preconceived notions because of the way they look, or because they said something, or because they posted something on social media, or whatever it is that gets in the way of possible, check yourself. And it's really about getting curious. Like, I wonder what really gets that person excited. I wonder what I can do to help them do amazing things. It's just, how do we look at life differently? Like, there's another amazing quote: when furious, get curious.
Hello, and welcome to the Conspiracy of Goodness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Linda Ulrich, and I'm also the founder of the mothership website for this podcast. It's called The Goodness Exchange. It's a giant global website. We've been at it for 10 years, publishing what's right with the world. We've written thousands of articles and have hundreds of interviews there with people who are changing our shared future with innovations and insights that we just aren't hearing enough about on the negative news cycles. So here at the Goodness Exchange and the Conspiracy of Goodness podcast, you can count on getting a spring in your step again. And we're going to do that yet another time today with our wonderful guest, Darrin Tulley. Darrin is a visionary author of the acclaimed book, Live Your Possible. And he's also got a really great podcast called Live Your Possible Podcast. Either of those places, you can find a new way forward. I was introduced to Darrin by one of the most powerful and impactful nonprofit leaders I've ever interviewed. Sarah Leathers is a woman in Hartford, Connecticut, who has an organization that's extraordinary called Healing Meals. And Darrin interviewed Sarah, and Sarah was so impressed that she listens to every single episode of Darrin's podcast and shares them with me almost every week. So, of course, I had to track Darrin down and talk to him about this wonderful book, Live Your Possible, and the podcast that I have listened to so many episodes for. Darrin, you are really celebrating what's right with the world as well. So welcome to the Conspiracy of Goodness podcast.
I'm so honored to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Well, we had a great pre-call chat where I came up with so many questions, so many lovely quotes from you about, happiness and possibility and courage and curiosity and all these things that I'm going to kind of go by the script of the questions we decided on. But also, I've since dove into the book, and you can see how dog-eared it is. And I'm going to take some questions right from the book to give people an idea of where that's going so they can follow your lead on opening up a new landscape of possibility for their lives too. So thank you for the light you're bringing to the world.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. And I'm impressed with all those notes you have there. So looking forward to dive in.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to start with is just kind of like something that impressed me as your personal ethos. You like to say in many different ways that there is truly a light inside every single person. And it seems to me, just after the minimal time that we've spent together, maybe an hour or more, I guess we did fall into a rhythm in that first conversation we had. You really do believe that there's a light inside other people, and you tend to amplify it or bring it out. Because I know I felt great after chatting with you. Talk to me about why you think this way and how you came to this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be, to really see that we all have something special inside. We always talk about everybody has untapped potential, and I don't know if I ever believed it until I had truly an awakening. To your question about how did I get here, and I was at a point where, as a leader in corporate America, I was trying to bring the best out of people that were around me every day, and what I recognized, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing it as well as I could have, and my intentions were right, yet my actions weren't following through my intentions. So I had this moment where I found myself really helping folks that are like me, that were maybe thought like me or came from backgrounds like me or even looked like me. And I was at this 4-day immersion event. And what happened was, after a couple of days of getting to know different people at this event, there were about 25 of us, and there were 5 people that were white males. And then the rest was a really diverse population. And we got to know each other in different ways about people's backgrounds, their families, what they're passionate about, what they love, what motivates them, where they come from, where their dreams are. And I really started to care for everybody in the room in different ways, in ways that I never would have imagined. Just like other human beings, just striving to live a life filled with opportunities and possibilities and had dreams just like any of us that are listening. And what I recognized after the second day, it was a gut wrenching moment because we were listening to what was getting in the way of different people, limiting beliefs or what people might have believed in each other, and the struggles people take just to get to the boardroom or to get to work, the way people have to dress or they have to put their hair in a certain way or the way they need to speak, and some of the struggles people have just getting to work. Literally, some people get pulled over just because of the way they might look. And it's these moments when I hear this, I was realizing I was living in this bubble. I wasn't recognizing that this was happening as much as I thought in my own backyard. So it hit me over those 2 days. These people that I was having much care and love for, that I didn't know going into these 4 days of immersion discussions, I recognized that I was pushing people away, people with differences. And when I was, I guess, approaching that third day, I had slept all night. I was tossing and turning. I was emotional, and I actually addressed that group that morning, that third day, and explained to folks that I was not living my possible. I was not living a life that I should. I wasn't carrying privilege honorably that I had. And what I said to folks is I felt like my world was collapsing, my bubble was bursting. The life that I knew at that time, I didn't know I had this unconscious biases, I suppose, against differences about making it harder in some ways. So the folks that I thought I was trying to help that were around me with this greater purpose, I wasn't doing. And I literally broke down that day. And I broke down that day and had said to folks, I need to do better and I need to change and I need to see differences as a way to see strengths and opportunities and beauty, because we all have the same desires and wishes and wants, and we all are deserving of it and worthy of it. And I recognized that I was unconsciously incompetent, and then I became unconsciously competent, and that scared the hell out of me. And that's what got me really emotional. And that's where I got this awakening. And albeit I was crying and upset, I wasn't looking for folks to cry with me or looking for sympathy. What I was really sharing with people, that I recognize that I'm as human as anybody in that room, and I need to help create an equal playing field where all of our voices should be heard and can be heard. And this is where I started to change my way. And I walked out of the room, my bubble had burst. I thought I was found, and what I recognized is that bubble actually expanded. And that was the beauty of what happened over those 4 days, is I left with a commitment to expand this world of possibilities for all of us. And I also changed my way of looking with purpose and not let the distractions or the things that once got in my way, but to look at the light that's inside of all of us, this beauty, looking at your eyes, Linda, looking at what is there, looking at having people look at me with brighter eyes and seeing that to say, wow, I have creativity, I have happiness, I have joy, I have dreams, I have passions, and this person wants to bring it out. Yes, that's what I want to do. It doesn't matter who you are, as long as we are sitting there together to look for the best in each other, to bring out the best in each other. That's love. That's human love. And that's where I'm at. And that looking at people from the inside out brings out the vibrant colors in all of us.
Well, I tell you, when I first made the pre-call with you, I had no idea. I thought we were going to talk about a happiness podcast and a happiness perspective. And I've thought about you and this story so many times since we talked, just in reflecting about my own self-awareness or lack thereof. I mean, one of the things I wrote down that you said to me, you said, no, wait, just so people understand, like, this was a diversity and inclusion seminar, if I remember right.
That's right.
And there was it called White Men and Allies.
Correct.
And for one thing, I don't even know what that means, but you were just one of 4 or 5 white guys that were there, executives that were there.
Yeah, out of the 25 folks in total, it was a good split between male, female, and then it was a diverse group overall. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. And it was sponsored It was sponsored by the company I was with at the time, Mass Mutual Financial, and we brought this group in called White Men for Diversity Partnerships, and they created this forum intentionally. And it does kind of have you shake your head to say white men and its allies, like what? And the intention is to put the focus on where it should be, where we have the opportunity we all have the opportunity, by the way. We all have levels of privilege. I think it just varies. Yet for me, I went into this diversity and inclusion event thinking I was one of the good guys. And I am a good guy. I'm a good leader. I'm a
That's
good
what you
person. I have a
said.
great heart.
Yes, yes.
And
Yes,
what
you
I
said that to
recognize
me. I
though,
wrote it down. You said, you said I was a good guy. It's what you think about yourself.
yeah. Well,
And I went, yeah,
I
that's
thought
what
I
I
was
think
I
too.
thought I was good enough, and I remember going up to a table of diverse women, and we are all having lunch the first day to learn about our skill sets, our tests that we took to see where we stack up with understanding our different cultures and what we're going to go through for those 4 days. And I remember saying jokingly, and was wrong. I recognize afterwards. Jokingly had said, "Hope you go easy on us." Like, what the heck? Why would I say that? Right? It's not the nicest thing to say. At the same time, it was this nervous energy, trying to be light about it. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, no. So that's why I had to, I basically said I could have been self-preserving. I could have justified, I'm good. I do the right thing. I was just kidding. I was, but here's the reality. It's our actions. It's not just the words. It goes beyond intention. I had good intentions. My actions didn't follow my intentions. I had hired previously, prior to that particular event, 3 white males. Nothing wrong with that. Great talent, and we did good work. After that, and I started to recognize and see the world differently. I went to do networking events intentionally to meet people that were not like me, just to get uncomfortable, just to learn and ask questions and inquire to see where you're from. Tell me more about you. What are your interests? What are your passions? And what I recognize is there's so many amazing people I was pushing away. And then when I started to meet these people, I would hire these amazing people. So 8 out of the next 10 hires were a diverse slate of folks that we brought into the organization. And then we did work that I could never have imagined. Like the outcomes were beyond what I could forecast or ever dream of, because we put different perspectives, different ideas, different skill sets, and we all worked with a common passion for each other, with each other, to do amazing things. It was incredible. It's like, it's what you hear about, and they're like, yeah, people even say to me, "Did you get the right talent, the best talent?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it was the best set of people, the best team I've ever had in my career."
Well, most of us think diversity and inclusion is something that we're good at, that we're naturally doing, and it's other people who have the problem about their self-awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I love about your story. That's what I love about your story. I love about the book. I love about the podcast is that you're willing to be vulnerable first. It's something that I've learned in my dental practice for 35 years. If I'm talking to a patient about, let's say, dry mouth, I say, "Hey, I'm on high blood pressure medicine myself, and I see you are too. Do you have dry mouth?" I say something, or if I have to ask somebody's age, I always say my age first and then ask them theirs. There's like, and I think that works in this world of not knowing what to say next because we're out of our comfort zone. Talk to me about getting out of your comfort zone. That's one of the things that I just love about your work.
Well, I think it's important that we need to get uncomfortable. I think that's where growth comes from. And, understanding that everything we know is good to have. It doesn't mean we're replacing what we know. It's really about expanding. It's really about augmenting. Like if we think about AI is about augmenting intelligence. Like it's about adding. If we're all going to be closed-minded and just keep to what we know, we're going to be limited over time. And that's what I recognize is I was limiting myself by protecting or maybe not being as open or as welcoming to differences. Because to me, being able to share something courageously or being vulnerable, or to even share, hey, I don't know if I'm going to get this right, with my intention to be, I really want to learn from you because I care and I want to help you. And I want to put you on this certain platform, or I want to really look in your eyes and really understand who you are and see this light and see what's possible. Like, sharing that to me is that it creates the space. You're creating that space where a conversation can happen. That's what we're doing. We're trying to, whatever that might be to your examples, you're trying to create a safer zone where someone's willing to step in with you. So you're being courageous yourself, you're being vulnerable. And that's where, like, I'm sharing that story at the beginning. Like, I'm not like excited to share that story. I share that story because I was vulnerable about sharing this in front of 24 other people about, oh my God, I just had this aha, this awakening that allowed me to see things differently. It was painful. And sometimes we need to understand that we got to get uncomfortable, like to have this discomfort to be able to move forward or to allow our world to open up. And that's what I mean by expansive. Like, when my bubble burst, the idea is my world opened up. I could actually see things more clearly because I came in with open-mindedness, with a level of curiosity, with a level of care. It's not about me, it's about the rest of the world. And that's the big distinction. It's worrying less about how am I going to come across, yet I'm trying to make it safe for that other person to contribute, because then we'll discover amazing things together. It's creating that space. When we're vulnerable, we're creating that space to allow people to step in it with us. And then it might get a little messy and we might get uncomfortable, yet that's where growth comes from. As long as our heart is in the right place and we're not looking to be right and we're looking to grow and we're looking to expand together, we could do anything.
I definitely believe that. And we have. I mean, humans have proven that when we're all vulnerable together, we can do extraordinary things. Think about what it would have been like, Darrin, during the air raids in London in World War II, to just run out of your apartment with your little kids in hand and maybe a blanket and go down into the subways all together with strangers and just sit down there all night long, hearing what's going on above you and then having the courage to walk back out again.
Yeah.
I mean, and they made it through that. I mean,
Yeah.
like, people are better sometimes when we're vulnerable and we're sharing that space together. So I love that. Okay, let me. We've already mentioned it twice, so I do want to talk about this before we launch into some questions I've got in the book. But privilege is part of the through line in all this equity and diversity concept, because those of us with it sometimes don't see it. Like, oh, the conversations I've had, because I've been a dentist. Back when I went to dental school, there was only 5 girls in my class. They didn't even teach the women how to take out teeth because the head of the oral surgery department didn't think women should be dentists.
Oh, wow.
I literally have been a dentist for 35 years and don't know how to pull a tooth. I can do a lot of other things, but so I'm just saying,
Yeah.
here we are in this world where privilege comes with responsibility, and it comes with access to this kind of awareness that you've got. Talk to us about your thoughts about the privilege.
Well, I'm sure you do a lot of amazing things as a dentist too, so I appreciate that. I believe that privilege is a word that we shouldn't walk away from. And I've been at some events, doing speaking, talking about allyship, talking about inclusion where allowed, and the word privilege, I've been asked to not use it. So, like, part of me, I find it interesting that we're being asked not to use certain words. Yet it's so important for us to recognize that there are words that we all define maybe slightly differently. And I think about privilege as something that we can help make the world a better place with our privilege. And how do we use it honorably? I'm not saying we give it up. I think we could give other folks a hand. I mean, I had a person on my podcast, in my lodge, and she's an integral part of my book. She's part of chapter 5. And we talk about how it's not about a handout. It's about a hand up. We're giving people, each other, a chance, giving people a voice, giving people an opportunity. And what's ironic about that is when I recognize that the more I share, the more there is for all of us to have. So I really encourage people to understand, like, when we're talking about sharing privilege, when we're being an ally, when we're helping other people from different backgrounds or just people that are in front of us, no matter who they are, we all can benefit. Because I think there's this feeling that we're going to give up something. And what I'm here to say to you is we're all going to benefit. because when we actually care for the person across the table, they're going to care back, and they're going to truly help us out in ways that you'll never understand. You're going to get this feeling when they excel and exceed and do things they never thought was possible. You're going to light up, and you're going to do different things in the world differently. And that's the experience I continue to have. Why I think about inviting people to this concept of living your possible, because it's there. When we help somebody else out, we're not giving away our privilege. We're actually giving other people the opportunity to step into their possible and give people the opportunity. Like this example with Shemaya Lodge, this metaphor I use in certain talks because it talks about privilege without using the word, where Shemaya was someone that I was a mentor to. And the irony is over time, I'm now a mentee. In other words, we're both mentees of each other. We're helping each other succeed in life. We're there for each other. We're helping folks understand what we're each capable of, and helping each other get over the hurdles on when we like get away. Yeah, what happened in the beginning is I thought incorrectly so that I was a voice for her. And when I asked her for feedback about this chapter 5, she's like, Darrin, no, 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 no. Like, I have a voice, a strong voice, a really good voice. And it really hit me kind of hard because I'm like, I was thinking, oh, my voice. And it's really not about my voice. So this metaphor is I had this megaphone that's in front of me because I have this level of privilege. This megaphone is just heard naturally because the seat I had in the company, the position I had. When I say something, people might listen differently for whatever reason, just because of the way our society has been built. I'm not saying it's right. In fact, it's wrong. And what I had to do was actually take this megaphone away from my voice and actually put it in front of Shemaya or somebody else that wasn't being heard. So I needed to give her the opportunity to be heard because her voice was more than strong enough. And she's now doing amazing things in her life and things that are blowing me away. How she's helping people in society, helping to create new policies in our country around racial equity and helping folks that are incarcerated, doing amazing things that are totally connected to making our world better and giving people better chances. And it's not because of what I did. It's what she's doing. It's her voice. But it's what we need to do with our privilege. Every time I see her speak online or she's going to an event, I get chills because it fills my heart for her and the people that are being impacted by her. That's what I mean about giving privilege and sharing privilege so other folks could actually experience privilege and pass it on to millions of other people like she's doing. That gives
So
me so much hope and joy.
Privilege can be, using your position to give the microphone to somebody else.
Yes.
That's really the bottom line.
And I didn't give up anything. I actually gained.
Right.
I mean, I gained more of what I want, to see what's possible, to see the world improve, to see other folks step in. I think it's what we all want. For leaders that are listening, we all want people to step in this space and to come up with new ideas, to be creative, to share their joy, because we all know people that are happy at work are more productive, and customer experiences are better, all this stuff. But if we allow folks to step in and be creative and come up with the solutions, the whole place changes. I mean, there's this example you and I talked about with this hospital in Florida that read through this book, and they use this as a way as a guide to transform their culture. And what they did is they changed their purpose away from the patient, hold your breath, away from the patient to the caregiver. When they actually changed their focus on the caregiver, guess what happened? Everybody thrived. The caregiver and the patients and the community. Now the hospital, people don't want to leave. Burnout rates are low. Nurses don't want to leave. There's no shortage. The community is happy because the patients are coming out in a different mindset. Like fall rates, safety rates are better than they've ever been. And it's just about the mindset, giving that privilege back to the caregivers. It's giving that autonomy, sharing empathy. It's creating that space for dialogue, to listen and care, and to admit, like I was taught as a leader, I had to have all the answers, and I couldn't be wrong, or I couldn't say I don't know. Throw all that out and ask people what they think. How can we make it better? How can I make your day even better today? Or what's a good day look like, so I could help make sure that's happening more often than not? Or how do we help our customers or our patients have a better day or have more success in their world, right? Extending that based on who we are, allows other people to do the same thing. We're all getting in the space. And as we're doing that, it becomes more expansive. It's creating this ripple effect, as our mutual friend, Sarah Leathers, likes to say, ripple of kindness. Yet it becomes a ripple of opportunity, a ripple of happiness, ripple of possibilities, whatever that might be. But like we should all be riding the ripple, because it's just going to be so expansive. And it's based on how we show up. It's about how we show up and how we're being with other human beings. It's not the things we do. It's about what we do. It's how we're doing it. It's how we're doing it.
So we're going to take a break. When we come back, you can see why I wanted to talk to Darrin so much. He's so inspiring. Darrin, I just have to say, both times that I've spoken to you, you make me feel like anything's possible. And that's what we need. I mean, the word possible is in everything you do. And I really think that I'm hoping people will enjoy the next part of our interview, because we're going to talk about the book. But if there's anything I want people to get out of this, is that it's where you start here about what's possible. If your mental chatter is about what's not possible, or the bad intentions of someone else, or just sitting where you're sitting, you're trying to defend your position. None of that is going anywhere, right? It's like,
yeah, those are showstoppers.
Talk to us.
You stop conversation. You stop the ability to discover, create new things. Innovation stalls when we're not willing to open and be observing and taking things in. It's really that door of curiosity, right? We need to make sure we're checking it, not only to hear and listen, yet it's about our willingness to change or adapt our perspectives. That's the key.
And that is about thinking that anything is possible, because it all starts with us and our perspectives. We're not even going to go out on a limb or put our toe in the water if we don't think anything's possible. Okay, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the book. You know how the constant negative noise in our digital lives feels like it's reaching a boiling point? Now, many of us have tuned out the news and social media almost entirely. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. There are newsworthy stories about amazing progress, innovation, leaps in human potential, and wonders in the natural world, and they're just not reaching the top of our feeds. We can have access to this, but none of us has the time, or maybe even the emotional stamina, to search through all the doom and gloom news to find what's right with the world. Okay, enter the Goodness Exchange. There, we are giving instant access to positive news for curious people. Did you hear about the recent Harvard study that found that exposure to just 4 minutes of good news can make you 32% less anxious and 18% more optimistic? Well, I don't know about you, but I need those kind of numbers in my life. So, if you want to live with more joy and way less fear, it's really simple. First, you join us at the Goodness Exchange. Everyone around the world has the opportunity to access this kind of content. And we've promised no politics for about a decade, so you're safe from all that distraction as well. Second, you allow this new, more positive, balanced worldview to put a spring in your step again. It can change the way you react to your kids, your coworkers, everybody you come in contact with. And the stories we write about can make you the idea person in your circles. These challenging times call for us to wake up and take control of our perspective. The people who use the Goodness Exchange have the ability to react to the harshness of the world much different, because they know way more about what's right with the world. And that's a resource. So subscribe to the Goodness Exchange, our YouTube channel and the podcast, and use this content to live a more expansive worldview. It is still an amazing world out there, and you can be a part of it. Welcome to the Conspiracy of Goodness. Okay, we're back with author and podcast host Darrin Tulley. He has written the book called Live Your Possible, and he has a podcast by nearly the same name. Before we dive into the book, let's talk about the word possible, because you've got some insights about the definition and the origin of that word.
Yeah, I agree. I love how you're caught on to anything's possible. It's just like the idea of seeing that there's a light in everybody. When we start to put that in our mindset, it actually allows us to think that it can be true. versus actually having judgment or having some unconscious belief or thought in our mind that limits it. So it's really allowing us to say, wait, let me look for what is possible. I mean, that's the key thing. And let me just go back for a second too, because there's a couple things that are swirling around for me when I think about the word possible. One is I was a premature baby. I was born a couple months early, and I was behind for many years growing up. And my parents were wonderful to me. They helped me do many things to break through everything. Yet in my early days, they just had a notion of, hey, we just hope he's average one day. We hope he can get to average. And there were a couple of moments you have to read in the book. There's this Apple story with my grandmother and my mother that helped me learn my ABCs because I was behind. Yet I think there was a breakthrough moment for me because that allowed me to practice something I didn't think I could do. And I was having fun doing it. And it became possible. I actually learned my ABCs in a way I never thought I could. And I think it was a breakthrough moment where all of a sudden life started to turn faster for me. And I created this newspaper with my friends, and
Oh, I love that story.
we didn't know what was going on because I was a paper boy. We didn't know what was going on with my neighbors because they were all grumpy in the morning and disheveled and half dressed or whatever. But now I get it as an adult. I get what's going on at night and what's going on the next day and all the responsibilities, right? Which is kind of dimmed our light over time. Yet their light was dimmed. I saw that at 9 years old, and I went to my friends and we said, "How do we get this out of them?" We said, "Let's ask them." So we started asking people, "Hey, what gets you excited? What are you passionate about? What brings you joy? And would you be part of our paper?" Into our delight, everybody said, "Yeah, that sounds interesting." So we actually created this side paper. Back then, it wasn't a side hustle. I guess it was. Yeah, what was pretty cool about it and why I'm sharing this is that people lit up when they shared these stories. And why? Because we were innocent young reporters without an agenda. We just took the story, wrote it down, and shared it. And our neighbors actually stopped waving at each other, just kind of like haphazardly. To now they're waving people down because they had a platform. They wanted to talk to other people. So what's amazing about that is it became so possible for this whole street to come alive and thrive and be there with each other. And this platform was there to see, what, it's more than just being a neighbor. It's like we all have passions. Maybe it's gardening, our children, our trips. Maybe it's just the way we're living, the book we're reading, whatever it is. But people came alive in ways I never understood. And if you fast forward to that event, this immersion event, where I actually wasn't believing and seeing life as this innocent young reporter anymore. I had my own biases, my own beliefs that got in the way of seeing my life again. So when this event happened, when my life felt like it was crashing, it allowed me to go back in time to being this young reporter to say, wait a minute, I need to see life again with wonder, with childlike eyes, and see the beauty and what's possible. And I needed to share that people have more than what I was given initially about, hey, can you be average? And I was doing that to everybody else. I'm like, no more. Everybody has this potential that's untapped that we need to unleash. Everybody's got this dimmer switch that, life has kind of turned down our light because of responsibilities or because of biases or because of our society. I want to turn that light back up and enlighten people to this light to see what's inside. That's what I'm doing. That's why I think anything is possible. When people start to see this light, they start to try it out. They turn it up a little bit and they start to see things more clearly.
Okay. With that, let's talk about this book. There are some very interesting little concepts in it that I want you to share with people. Darrin does a really good job, I should say, in this book of storytelling himself. And so what we're going to cover is just some highlights, but you're going to find your own story in this book as well. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about, Darrin, is you've got this great part near the beginning of the book about making a difference inside and out, and this concept of how can I help. I've always thought that the cure to whenever I've had down times in my life, depressions and so forth, that runs in my family. As soon as I apply my interest in helping others, I'm usually elevated out of it. talk to us about how can I help and making a difference inside now.
Yeah, I love that concept, and I appreciate your kind comments there about the book and the stories and whatnot. I do believe, and it's actually proven, when we actually help out and make a difference, it actually boosts your mental, your physical, your well being in different ways. It actually slows life down. It actually allows us to actually see life in a different way because we actually are seeing what's in front of us. We become more present. We become more aware. We actually want to do more of it because we have more time to think about, and not more time to delay it, but more time to take action on. So it's so important to know that this is true. The way we see life, the way we help others. Yet it has to start within, though. It starts from within you. Like, what is that that's important to you? What difference do you want to make? What belief do you have? What purpose-driven belief do you have where you want to actually make more of in the world? Is it happiness? Is it one word? Is it love? Is it equality? Is it equity? Like, what is it? Just pick a word. Pick one word. What is it that could represent you? And practice it. Try it out. Because when you start to believe it inside, because it has to start with you, and challenge yourself for 30 days. Practice what you're seeing, how this word shows up, how you use it, how you listen for it. I promise you're going to hear it and you're going to see it pop up in the most amazing ways. And then you're going to actually want to do more of it. You're going to get this sensation, this feeling. It's going to feel funny. It's going to feel silly. It's going to feel wondrous. It's going to actually create some level of transcendence if you allow it. And that's where then you could then reach back out to the world and start to have a little bit more swagger and more belief because you know what you're actually trying to do differently. You're trying to have an impact for some purpose-driven belief, which is a really core element. If we don't know where we're going, it's hard to know what we need to do. So if we know what we're going for, if it's one word or it's a purpose statement, then you know a bit more about how you want to impact the world. Like for me this year, my word is wonder. And it's about wondering on the good side of the definition, wondering what's possible, or wondering what's inside that person that really they're passionate about, that gets them excited. I wonder what their dreams are versus like wonder with skepticism or doubt or those other words that are truly holding us back. Because there's a lot of that sometimes, like, I wonder why they said that about me, or I wonder what they said that for, versus saying, I wonder what's behind that so I could learn more. So maybe I wonder how I could help that person. I wonder what I could do for that person to have an amazing day. And it's really because I want to light people to this light inside of everybody. That's my purpose. So when I have that from the inside and I actually act it out, that's my identity. That's who shows up. And it's just beautiful because people light up in front of your eyes. And it doesn't matter who they are, or what they look like, or where they're from. Giving people that chance to do that. And that's the whole inside outside. And guess what? It keeps feeding my soul. It keeps feeding me to want to do more. And it's based on my actions, my behaviors, and my words, which connects back to my overall value and purpose.
It's like a circular energy cycle going on. It just keeps pulling you forward.
Absolutely. I mean, think about that, right? It just feeds itself. It's sustainable. Yeah. So it's not only possible, it's sustainable.
Yeah. That's lovely. That's lovely. So, just so folks know, if they see me writing, I can tell this would be a really nice thought process to look back on for folks. So I'm writing down little timestamps for places where Darrin is sharing things that we might want to get back to, and I'll make sure that that's in the show notes. This section about Darrin's recommendation about choosing a word and then living it and thriving all around it and seeing it pop up in our lives. That's a lovely exercise, a lovely practice.
No, and anybody can do it, right? It's accessible to all of us.
Yes.
We've all heard, or I think many of us have heard, this reticular activity system, which is the elements that are on top of mind, right? What are those key words that are on top of your minds? So if you say wonder, you say love, you say happiness, you say creativity, whatever the words that come to you, or whatever maybe you're grateful for. Like I often encourage people to say, what are you grateful for every day? Not to say that, I have gratitude. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's about how you practice gratitude, meaning when the gratitude that comes up that you're truly grateful for, you actually pause and recognize that it's there, and you might say something about it to somebody else, and you create that ripple effect again. It's about how you use this stuff. I'm not telling people to be possible. No, I'm showing you how to live it, how to do it, how to make it sustainable, how to help other people, join in the space with you.
Mm-hmm. So to that point, there's a page 99 here. So I thought in our pre-call, we talked about this concept. I interviewed a wonderful man named Matthew Lee, and his episode will have published by the time this episode. So if folks want to catch what I'm talking about here, Matthew Lee is this amazing fellow who is one of the prime folks involved in Harvard's Center for Human Flourishing. Did you even know there was a Center for Human Flourishing?
Sounds beautiful.
I didn't either, but it is beautiful. And Matthew Lee is an amazingly beautiful man. And one of the concepts he shared with me is page 99. Turns out that you can open almost any book that you love to page 99 and read what's on page 99, and it pretty much encapsulates the whole book. And I turned to your page 99 now. I'm doing it all the time. He referred to a book that you and I both love. I'll share with people called The Art of Possibility by Ben Zander. Oh, now there's a man. If you look at Ben Zander's YouTube videos, you're going to walk on a cloud. But your page 99 happens to be exactly fitting to this concept. It's all about living your possible and dreaming out loud. And you give 7 really good little short courses on this. It's like a circular graphic. But one of the ones I wanted to ask you about was partnering up and finding joy in the world and being ready for it. This is the thing. Sometimes when we partner up and we get people that just are in our echo chamber, we can like miss so much. So I think what you're talking about is a different kind of partnering up and being ready for joy that might come your way. Talk to us about that.
I agree with you. And yeah, I'd love the concept of page 99. I'm going to try it out with all these other books.
Try it.
It's funny because page 99, you led me on to it here, and it's it's a quick summary of the book ahead of how to use the book to think about the book. So it's pretty fascinating. And that page is actually a summary of that chapter. At the end of each chapter, it is that wheel. It is that kind of element of the wheel of life on different concepts that it helps you evolve, and it summarizes the key points from each chapter. So I appreciate you calling that out. Now, partnering, I believe a big part of this book is a life guide, and it's also a workbook within the book itself. So partnering with somebody, I think, is really important because we open up and share, and we're vulnerable, right? We share what we're thinking, where there are ideas and practices that we might be unsure to do or to take, but there's over 100 actions within the book that encourages people to practice for 30 days. Because I believe when you practice these things consistently for 30 days, not only do we give ourselves the opportunity for it to exist and become possible, we start to believe in ourselves. We create more confidence that we can do things, we can follow through. And then we create new habits. We create these that become rituals. When these become rituals, we actually change our lives. And it becomes expansive and generative to how we live. And having a partner, I believe, is important. There's a person in the book, Donna Skillman, who's a really good friend who's in the book. And, we partnered up on sharing what happiness looks like. Do we find happiness in the day? What happens when people say happy or happiness? And we would challenge each other to say, did you find it? Did you hear it? So it's almost like you have to let your guard down a little bit to be willing to share it and say, oh, I saw this. But it's also, it's collaborating, right? We're open to each other's ideas and thinking without judgment, which is a practice we could all benefit from, no matter who you are. We're willing to share some silly things or some things that maybe we saw with wondrous eyes that maybe we wouldn't do otherwise. We let our guard down. We let our childlike eyes come alive, because that's really where we see the beauty in life. We slow down and recognize what could be. And we encourage each other to step into the practice actions that we're willing to do. Because pairing is something I learned with the person that wrote the foreword, Richard Sheridan. Pairing is something that he taught me, which is helping to really be inclusive in your perspectives and thinking, and challenging each other in a really healthy way. And it's okay to say inclusion, because inclusion is really helping us to see the world better in a different way that allows us to actually expand our capabilities, where we discover and create amazing innovations and thinking. This is the same thing. We're partnering. It doesn't matter. We're just two human beings. It doesn't matter what level you are, where you're from, who you are. It's just being open and vulnerable to allow something special to happen. And that's what happens throughout this whole book. Partnering up. You're willing to actually share, listen, encourage, love and share happiness and share like times where they're dark too, because we're not happy all the time. There's moments where it's hard to come to grips that I can't see something or I can't feel something because something is in the way. Yeah, as we create these habits, we create these rituals. There's truly an algorithm to this. The more joy we have than misery and darkness, we're going to have more light, more love, more happiness. It's true. It just is. It doesn't mean things go away. That allows us to actually have more of it if we allow it to come into our lives. We have access to it. We just got to practice it.
So that leads to something that I really like. You do quote Wayne Dyer, who says, "You'll see it when you believe it." Instead of "I'll believe it when I see it," you say, he said, wait, he was very famous for saying that. You'll see it when you believe it. So back to the limiting beliefs part of this, you have this very nice little list, which I loved, about shining a light on it, like asking yourself, do you have or do you know beliefs that you live every day? Do beliefs support positive connections? So what about that question right there in our world that's so divisive and so full of friction and so ready to ignite all the time? What if we asked ourselves and came up with really serious answers or honest answers about, do our beliefs support positive connections?
Exactly.
No, is the answer for so many folks who are tuning into the crazy negative noise media, right?
Absolutely. It's the way we've taught ourselves, especially in our society. We have to have answers. We have to be right. Somebody's has to be wrong. It's binary. It's divisive. And there's not much in between. And you think about the notion of 0 to 1, infinite possibilities. So how do we start to get, kind of get in this expansive space where we can start to listen a little bit differently? Because if we go into a conversation and we go into just having, a one-on-one or seeing somebody to say this person's a good person without knowing them, if you actually believe that, you're going to look for it. To your point about seeing it and then you'll believe it. The reality is, if you start to believe that there's a light in everybody, you believe that everybody is possible, you believe that there's good in all of us, then let's seek it out. Because if we actually come in saying we have preconceived notions because of the way they look, or because they said something, or because they posted something on social media, or whatever it is that gets in the way of possible, check yourself. And it's really about getting curious in a positive way. That's why I'm using the word wonder this year. I'm trying to wonder on the positive side. There's two ways to look at it, as I've mentioned already. Can we wonder with curiosity? Can we wonder with what I wonder what really gets that person excited? I wonder what I could do to help them do amazing things. It's just, how do we look at life differently? Like, there's another amazing quote about, when furious, get curious.
Yeah.
Like, slow down.
Oh, I love that.
Slow down. We have to slow down. We have to create the pauses intentionally. All of a sudden, we feel like the hair on the back of our neck goes up, or we start to feel that we're turning, blush, or we feel like we're excreting something, then we probably should slow down and say there's something there. And not to fight, not to push back, yet to dig in, to understand, to get curious, to wonder what's going on, to try to figure out how do we pull through this better, in a better place. Right now, it's really everybody puts up their gloves and moves on. And happiness and the answers aren't on social media. Sorry, it's not there. Albeit you might be listening to this on social media. Yeah, the answers are about it's inside of you. Like, what difference do you want to make? How do you want to light up the world? Because when you start to light up your area of the world, then other people could start to light up too. They're going to step in. It becomes more expansive. I know I keep saying that. It's true. I've seen it. I've seen organizations do it. Go from last to first, or third quartile to top decile, go from patient to caregiver. When they changed focus and actually believe it, everything starts being noticed in a positive way. They start to believe in each other. They start to reinforce what is possible. They start to reinforce or recognize and celebrate each other's successes versus actually say, oh, I can't believe they got that award, or they got promoted, or they. No, it's like we together are doing great things. We're helping out our patients differently. We're actually making a difference in our community. Our kids are stronger because they actually see possibilities, whatever it might be. They see inclusion as an act of actually creating a better world. Doesn't mean, again, getting rid of what we know. It's actually expanding what we know to do better things.
All right, here's another one. I love see the good in people. Forgive bad execution. That is just so true.
Yeah, it is. And I'm a living example of that. I was just go back to that example about me going up to that lunch table prior to the 4-day diversity and inclusion event. I'm a decent person. Yeah, I executed very poorly that day. And prior to that, who I had hired and not listening, pushing possibilities and my own joy away and pushing other people's joy away, I thought I was one of the good guys. And I just, ended up recognizing, no, my execution was wrong. It comes back to that whole element of, I believe in something bigger. My actions, my words were not aligned. So how could anybody trust me? How could anybody show that I was credible in leading people to amazing places if I wasn't recognizing that everybody had this potential, had these possibilities, had the ability to learn, and giving people the opportunity to express it and to share vulnerably, openly, in a safe place? How else would people change? And I had to go through that myself. Yeah, I had bad execution. And some people will say to me, hey, you got to smile more. And I agree with that. I need to smile more. Like, I'm having a lot of fun at this meeting that sometimes, like, some of these topics are so serious. Yet it's so important that we just smile more, enjoy life, and allow it to happen, and feel like you're worthy of it, because we have to change some of our own internal dialogues. That we're all worthy of it, and start saying to ourselves, like, I am worthy of it. I am possible. I am a good person. I am loving. But yet we have to then follow through with the actions. So that'll become who we really are. And that'll be the legacy we leave. That'll be what we share with our kids, people we love, our friends, our patients.
And changes is so possible and incremental. It can be 1% per day. It can be 0.5% per day, but it makes a difference. Okay. I love also another thing that's great about the book that folks will like is that you're good at sending people to different sources through the book. You're great at recommending things. Here's one that I found interesting when I checked it out. You say, take a pause and reflect. Check out the thought-provoking article, Why Do You Need to Protect Your Sense of Wonder? Especially now. That article people should check out. I'll make sure I put it in the show notes as well on the Goodness Exchange. But talk to us about protecting your sense of wonder. I know that you made it a project for a whole year to focus on wonder, but why is it so important, even especially now, for people to protect their wonder?
It's so important, I think, because we have this ability inside of all of us to see the world's the beauty, allow us to be creative, be innovative. When we were younger, we'd ask the questions like, why, or why, how could that be? Why not? Thinking about these type of things in that way. We've lost that sense over time. And there's a different study where adults and children that are 5 years old were asked questions, and they were asked to come up with solutions, and how creative the solutions would basically be would actually judge them, or it would score them based on their creativity skills. And over 95%, some 100%, different studies showed that 5-year-olds had that sense of being wondrous and curious and creative. And the same study, only 2% of adults had the ability to do that. So think about that. What happened? Yeah, we got responsibilities. Life became more serious. We see maybe more doubt and negativity in the world, and we let that consume us. So we have to have a different door to allow us to see more positive things. That's why I love the concept of wondrous eyes, because we're wondering what the beauty is that's sitting right in front of us. What am I not noticing? Because it's right there. It's right there
Can I
for
share a
us to
story
see
of
it.
wonder with you?
What's that?
Because I take it from a funny angle and with curiosity as well. And I'm going to share with people one of the things, if you have trouble thinking about this concept of wonder that Darren and I are talking about, I'll tell you your first step could be this: the phone in your life. And I'll tell you why. In the office, in the dental office, you get all kinds of people, and there's some folks, it's like their big outing to go to the dentist. And my office is particularly good at chatting with people and loving them up and finding something to celebrate with every single person. So we do that. And one day, my dental hygienist came to get me, and she goes, Gonna have to have extra time with Ruth because she brought something to show you, and she thinks you might be able to take our little cameras to it." And so I come around the corner and I figured out, so I'm going to get to have more time with Ruth. And she's brought me her gallstone. Now, first of all, I thought, wow, she thinks I'm the kind of person that would be interested in seeing her gallstone. So I actually love that. That for me, that was the highest compliment, that she thought I would be interested in seeing her gallstone. But since we're also very, very technically driven in this dental practice, we have tiny intraoral cameras that we put in people's mouths every day since 1997. We've been on these cameras. And she thought, I bet you she'll want to see it on the camera. And boy, I did. So I put the little gallstone on the tray table, and then we took the very high magnification and put it on it. You know what a gallstone looks like? It looks like the surface of the moon. It has little radiating, like, canyons in it.
That's cool.
Yes. Okay. So that taught me, ever since then, it taught me to use my phone to photograph things that are tinier than I can see, but may have something on their surface that I can appreciate and look at with wonder. So I walk around with my phone all the time on a setting that I can take the darndest things and blow them up a million times. And I bet you I take 10 photographs a day, every day, of things that are ordinary in our lives that we would step on or walk right past, and I blow it up, and it's a great way for wonder. So I'll just share with people that little trick.
I think it's a great idea, right? It's just you're being creative, right? You're looking at life, what's in front of us, noticing what's there. And part of my whole story, like behind me, there's these wide-eyed smiles. Like that was like a light up moment I had with my daughter.
Okay. Yes, please that's a great way to wrap up this. Talk to us about the story of the one-eyed smile.
Well, I'd love to. It's one of my favorite stories. Obviously, is a light up moment for me to see life totally differently. And I went through that awakening, and I was really at the time unsure of the path, and I wanted to see differences. I wanted to embrace differences, and I was slowing down to see everything more intentionally, and evaluating and see if how I could learn and really stretch myself. And there was a moment with my daughter where she was doing her homework, and I was on my phone working, hanging out with her, doing neither one very well. I was not present, right? And she finished her homework, and she wanted a dessert. So I actually caved and gave her this Italian ice, and this lid. We took it off. We put it on the table. Was the moment. It was a really life-changing moment, because when I put my phone down, she had finished the Italian ice, and she was like all happy. I'm like, well, what's going on? And I had looked at the corner of the table, and there's this one-eyed smile that was turned upside down, and I turned it right side up and showed her, and she lit up, her mouth and eyes
on
wide
the
open.
lid. On the lid, the ice cream lid, right?
Yeah, on the back of the lid. Yeah. And
Yes.
it was just this one-eyed smile that was just smiling at us. And it was unique. It was different. It had one eye.
Just a little dot and the smile below it.
Absolutely. I don't know if you could see it in that background. It's in the center of the background. It's on the cover of the book.
Oh.
It's on the cover of the book here as well. And it even has a lid on there. You could see it on the book.
Yes.
So what I recognized when I shared that with her, it was a unique smile. It was different. It was embracing the world. It was letting my guard down. Part of this is letting our guard down to see the world and see it differently, and maybe even being a little bit silly about it. And what I recognized when I found it, as I mentioned, it was upside down. And what I kind of play around with is the fact that I was upside down. That smile was always there waiting to be noticed. I needed to turn myself right side up so I could see life differently, more clearly, and embrace happiness, embrace differences because those are unique. It's a unique smile. Like all of us, we're all unique. We all have a unique way about us. We have a unique light, a unique way of enjoying life. It's not what we see anywhere else. It's defined by ourselves. And it's really embracing that. When I saw that and saw her light up, I knew my life mission had to change and really help other people light up all around me. Yeah, it helped that it was my daughter, but she's been such an inspiration, my son as well. And it's been just such a ride to listen to how they see life through their eyes, which is wondrous and childlike all the time. And when I see that, I expand my way of thinking and I expand my way of viewing the world and how I can help the world in a different way. So it's just my constant reminder, this one eyed smile. And I've seen thousands of them. And I'm actually posting one each day on my Instagram account. It's a new sighting with a new inspirational quote just for folks to slow down and see the beauty that's sitting there right in front of us to be found. But all has to start from what we believe and see inside and let our guard down so we can connect to something really special out in the world. And it's really this wondrous one eye that, lights up my day. It's really my happiness reset button that allows me to actually just kind of enjoy life and help people actually live their possible every day.
And as we wrap up here, I think there's something about just not taking everything so seriously. It seems like, you even if you stay away from the news, don't you just change the channels exactly when the horrifying thing is on? Or, you can't get away from the lunch table without people going on about some negative noise that you managed to escape until
Mm.
that moment. Or whatever it is. But we just take it all in as if it matters in our life. Like it's so serious. I think what you're reminding us of is that we don't have to take everything so seriously.
Absolutely.
To wrap things up, I try and ask every guest at the end, if this interview had just been 3 minutes, like, what do you really wish people knew when you just boil it all down? All the insights that make your life work and give you a perspective that puts a spring in your step.
Well, I wish people would think about their future a little bit differently and really imagine that we have more impact than we ever thought possible because it's really how we step through the day, how we listen, how we slow down and be present, how we welcome the world in, how we think about that word for the day or those things we're grateful for. When we actually put these things as part of what we do, it shows up because that's what we look for. That's how I would summarize this. It's like, what are the words? What are the things that we want to have more in our life? Make that part of your life. Just do it. Partner up with someone if you need the help. Practice it every single day. Reflect at the end of the day. Don't judge yourself if you didn't see it or you weren't perfect at it, because that's part of what the problem is. We actually judge ourselves, we feel badly, and we quit. Keep going. Learn. Like that's the whole idea about a growth mindset is that we learn to get better and make this part of our life. We make this part of our life. Our future is going to be brighter. It's going to show up more often. Anything truly is possible when we do that.
You'd be surprised how many of the thought leaders I talk to say something akin to that. You'd be surprised how much control you have. You'd be surprised how much impact you can have. Something akin to what you just said, instead of living with the limiting beliefs that we just seem to carry around with us like a ball and chain. Well, thank you, Darrin Tulley, for sharing this lovely hour with us. It's expansive to be present with somebody who thinks as much as possible for us as they do for themselves, because that's what I see in you, is that you're looking at others with sparkling eyes. I mean, and you probably make 10 people a day feel like they can do anything, and we can't thank you
Mm.
enough for bringing that to this world. And I'm very honored to celebrate it.
Well, thanks for filling my heart with that. That's so sweet and kind. And imagine if those 10 folks then actually impact 10 folks and so on. What could happen?
Yes, imagine. And that's the power that we all have, and that's, I'm sure, what you and I both want to convey with our work, is that we all are the origin of the next best thing that's going to happen in somebody else's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the work you're doing. And again, I'm so honored and pleased to be here with you today. It's been such a treat, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Darrin Tulley. I hope that the wonderful comments and curiosities and ideas that Darrin and I explored today will carry you through your week, and you'll find that spring in your step that I'm always talking about. It is still an amazing world, folks. Thanks.